Hey everybody. So it's the day before spring, which I think is about the 19th of March. And I am working on the property. I'm doing a chore that is a yearly thing, that if you have land that has been taken over by grasses, or if you're trying to regrow a forest, it's something that you have to do. If you look at this patch I have in front of me here, this grassy patch, and you can see little blonde heads of it all over the place, these are invasive canary grasses. You've probably heard me talk about them in past videos about how amazing they are. They grow, up to 10 feet tall and just kind of take over everything. Well, what they do, I'm going to show you a couple of close-ups of a few things. What they do is, you see how tall these guys are? They tend to inundate the new trees that are coming up. I've been out planting trees and other things, fruit trees and other conifers and whatnot. But as I've been working, I've been realizing that in parts of the property, and I knew this before, but it's kind of a housekeeping chore you do on land. What happens is that the grasses overgrow some of the trees that have been planted. Ouch! Okay, here's what happened. I got tangled up in some berry bushes, or some briars, as some people would call them. Alright, ouch! Sorry about that. I should start over, but I won't, because I'm going to roll. Alright, so you see this guy over here? This is one of the guys that I pulled up. And I've taken my gloves off so I can do this, but I'm going to quickly put it back on. Sorry for the interruption, guys. I should have been more prepared to start this. Actually, I thought I was, but like nature goes, it kind of takes over things. Alright, so what you're looking at here is a Doug fir that was planted really about 3-4 years ago. But its growth has been stunted. It's basically just a little curled over thing, and what I've done is that, or what had happened to it was that the canary grasses had grown over it. And if you look right here next to it, you also see a fern that has just been smothered by the canary grasses. What's happening is that the mulch, from year to year, as this stuff grows, and the yearly cycles go through, say, wintertime, they fall over. And what they do is they fall over the tops of the new plantings that you've made. What happens ultimately is that they cover over them and they suffocate them, reducing the survivability, of your trees. So what I'm doing is I'm going through with a pair of shears and some basically loppers, and I am cutting free all that I can. You can look here and see a perfect example of a fern that is just overgrown. What happens is that in the next growing cycle, which is this spring, as the grasses start to come up, new ones will grow through and over, and in a matter of 2 to 3 years, most of the trees will be dead. Now here's an example of some firs that have done well and have pushed through the mulch. You can see how heavy some of the stuff is. They go into the trunks. This is one of the reasons why I plant fruit trees inside of the trunks that are up and above these things over here, or these grasses. I can't possibly cut all the grasses away, and I can't really mulch them because they're really, I can't really compost them because they're full of seeds. But what I do is that in the spring as they grow, I do cut the new growth of the grasses and add it to my compost bin, because that's green manure I can use, and it is, lush. When it starts to come up, the new shoots basically come up beyond the stuff that's fallen down. They haven't gone to seed yet, and I'll show you a patch of it that's starting to come up. If you look right here, you see these little green shoots. As they come up, I'm going to let those guys come up, and as they do, when they get to about 4 or 5 feet, I'm going to cut them off and add them to my compost bins. I'll basically chew them up a little bit, and as I cut, I'll make sure that I don't get any areas that have seed heads in them, and I don't cut them so low that I get, the seeds from past years and whatnot. It's a way to deal with and use what's here on the property. It's a way to take advantage of what you have on hand. You know, when I got here the first year, I bought a lot of silage. This year, some of this stuff I am going to find a way to use as the silage I need for, like, you know, the chicken coops and other stuff. The main reason I was making this thing is to say that sometimes you have to come out in early spring as one of your chores, as you plant trees and whatnot, to inspect for trees that have been inundated by the grasses and other stuff, and to open them up, to cut them out of their tombs, or their winter tombs, so to speak. Obviously, I'm standing here with quite a bit of acreage, so I'm not going to be able to go through all of it, but it's something that you do little by little. You inspect the trees that are coming up and see what the conditions of them are. This guy is growing fast, but it looks like a Charlie Brown tree. It's just really, really sparse. And I'm going to walk out here and show you a few other examples of some trees that were planted before I bought the property. And this was done by the logging company that I bought the property from. Basically, you have some along the side of the wood chip trail here, which, you know, this guy's doing pretty well, but, you know, there are parts of it that are just smothered in these grasses, and I need to cut them back. Some of them you can see I've been through and cut away. There's some like that one right there that's growing really well. There are a few others that are stunted, and some that are growing well. You know, the survivability of these things. The funny thing is they were all planted at the same time. That little guy I showed you was planted at the same time as this guy that you see over here. And yet, this guy is 7 feet tall, and that guy is barely 18 inches high. And here's another one here that what I've done in past years, I went through and I put cardboard around the base of some of these guys to retard some of the grass growth and other weeds and whatnot that were coming up. This piece of cardboard is obviously falling apart, and you can see some of the weeds are starting to go through, so I need to do something about that. But you can see the variation of issues you have when you have bare land like this, and you're trying to... By the way, this pile of cardboard was what I was using to cover the base of the trees, and this is left over from last year. I need to basically clean it up, and this whole area I'm going to plant asparagus in. It's one of the chores I have to do today, but again, here's another tree that is inundated with grasses. It's pushing through, but boy, it's having a hard time doing it, and you can give it a little help by clearing around the base. Usually I like to clear about 3 feet around, and then as I walk through during the course of the spring and summer, I just check them as things are growing. I cut away. I don't use chemicals. I do everything naturally. No spraying. You know, it's labor of love, so to speak. You just cut, cut, cut. This is another one that's, you know, needs to be cleared around the base. A lot of these are close to the trail, but other parts are not. And so I just have to walk into the thicket to do some of the stuff. And it's good to do that because ultimately, when the forest starts coming back up, you know, this area here that I'm taking care of is going to be the forest for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So it's good to do something about it to give it a good start. Don't let it die before it has a chance. As it grows, some of these trees will be thinned out. But basically, you know, this is a spring chore. Just wanted to, I know it's not a pretty video, but just wanted to make a little video about one of the spring chores that has to be done on the property if you have a lot of acreage, or if you're, you know, doing a homestead situation like I'm doing over here. All right, take good care.